How's everybody doing out here? Excellent, excellent. So this is the media in the age of Web3 panel, and we're just gonna do some intros real quick. Well, he already did it, but I'm the mayor, I'm the host and creator of NFT and Chill, and Anastasia?
My name is Anastasia. I'm Chief Executive Officer at Cointelegraph Communications. Cointelegraph is the biggest and famous crypto media in the world. We are covering blockchain, IT, and fintech news since 2013, so almost 10 years already.
My name is Itai. I'm CEO and managing partner at Market Across. We are a PR and marketing agency based in Tel Aviv, Israel. Started the agency a week after the Ethereum ICO. And we've been, kind of rolling around and been working with a lot of the media outlets here. And we're also Dcentral's main media partner. And just excited to have everyone here. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'm Mitchell. I'm the CEO of Crypto Briefing. Crypto Briefing's been around since 2017, so not quite as long as Cointelegraph, and we cover crypto news and research.
Jared. Hello. Does this work? Oh, this one. All right. I have two mics. My name is Jared Fink. I am the CEO and founder of Cosmic Wire. We are a full stack solution infrastructure company. Been in the game kind of as long as everyone else. So happy to be here with you guys.
Thank you. So yeah, we're going to start it off by just defining what Web3 media is and how it differs from Web2.
So I don't even know how exactly to define Web3 in general. So I don't know if I can define Web3 media. But I guess that we can look at it as native media from inside the industry that talks about the industry itself, as opposed to, I would say, the mainstream media who sometimes don't do the best job and then build new Jesuses like SBF and et cetera, et cetera. So I guess that Web3 media is, native media from the industry talking about the industry. I guess that's how I see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Anastasia?
I completely agree with Itai, and also wanted to add that Web3 for the media, it's the new type of content, the new instruments which we can use in terms to educate our audience, to communicate with our audience, to make the access for our audience to this new Web3 world much more easier, because so many people around trying to understand what actually Web3 is, and nobody actually knows. And according to Wikipedia, this term appeared from 2014 by Gavin Wood, one of co-founder of Ethereum. And it brings us decentralization, which we are also still trying to figure it out, what is this and how we can put all the regulations. But this is very different conversation for now, so I think it's pretty much for me. That's nice.
So I actually don't think that crypto-specific media by itself qualifies as Web3 media. Like, that really is just like media that specializes in a particular industry, like a trade magazine. So where I think that things get interesting when it comes to Web3 media is utilizing a blockchain or cryptocurrency element and how they interact with their users or monetize their content. Some ways that we see companies exploring this right now are things like media companies using tokens, using NFTs to unlock subscriptions, and other things like having ways to get their communities or their consumers to participate in a more Web3 native format. So as everyone here probably is familiar with NFTs or tokens, then finding ways to incorporate that in a way that makes sense and is compliant, that's how I would define Web3 media.
Yeah, that's all good stuff. I think one of the main things that defines it, at least for us, is that traditional, press publicity, all of that, we were just kind of doing announcements. We're putting up advertising, whereas Web3 is, we all know, we are the community. So really this is about onboarding, education, and telling the world what this is all about, because as cool as it is that we have our conference, the majority of the people aren't here, and we all know that. And as kind of like the leaders of the industry, the ones building out this industry, we have to onboard the people. So for us specifically, we always take kind of that narrative storytelling community build towards announcing, just to get people into the space, because we're just, embellishing things that we already love and bringing them and showing them a new way to experience that.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned monetization models. So I guess what are the current monetization models for media, and how does Web3, address that and make it better?
Yeah, that's a great question, Tyler. So if you look at most media companies, they have 3 or 4 main monetization models that allow them to do their business and act as these companies that serve some sort of public good. So looking at CoinDesk as an example, their main revenue model is actually consensus. So there's an event-driven monetization model as one of the ways that a media company can build their business around. Another one that's big and also controversial is something like advertising. So through the usage of banner ads and sponsored content, they can monetize their traffic that way. And another way that you see monetization outside of events and sponsorships is you'll also see companies that have some sort of strategic value to another person. So a good example of this is like the Washington Post, which was purchased by Jeff Bezos. The reason that they made that purchase is not because like, wow, the Washington Post is an incredibly profitable media company. No, not at all. It's because there's some strategic value in owning that company. So if you look at the media industry in crypto, you'll see that CoinDesk is owned by DCG. You'll see that Cointelegraph is owned by some wealthy Russian dude that's kind of shadowy. You'll see that...
Shots fired!
You'll also see that,
I will not take this punchline right now. But you can continue.
Yeah, so Decrypt is another good example of that, where they were spun out of Consensus and founded by, like, financed by Joseph Lubin, because there was some strategic interest in making sure that Ethereum-based projects get coverage. Now, the big problem that you see with these monetization models is that they create really weird conflicts of interest. Like the reason that Facebook got in a lot of hot water is because the users were the ones being monetized. They were taking your data and they were selling it to companies so that they get advertised to you. And people don't generally like that. When people go to a place that they think is supposed to be impartial, like a media company, they want to think that the information that they're receiving is not trying to sell them stuff and that it's at least reliable. And the problem with advertising and with having owners that are not aligned with the interest of the consumers or the readers, that's where you run into these problems where conflicts of interest can pop up. And potentially, Web3 might be able to solve those problems.
Actually, I want to continue from that. So first of all, I agree with a lot of what Mitchell said, not everything. I can't...
I was thinking of us, we are friends.
Yeah. I can't say I agree with everything. But there's an interesting side. You even look at the event space. So a lot of what happens in crypto, as Mitchell said, is by companies who have larger interests. So DCG owns, CoinDesk, and they have a VC, and they have a conference, and they have whatever. Decrypt with Ethereum, Solana events for Solana, so that kind of stuff. So you also, and also it's very strong in the event space. So that's one of the reasons why I really like Dcentral. Dcentral is an independent event. So it's not here to serve a specific ecosystem, a specific, I would say, narrative or one person. So that's very interesting. So I do take that part, but I do think there's another part we do need to talk about, that the community is great and influencers and bloggers, but they're not journalists and they don't have journalistic integrity. So a lot of times as an agency, I can tell you that we pitch a lot of sites and they're like, cool, we like the story. This is how much we want to cover it, as in money-wise. And we're like, okay, but this isn't sponsored content. It's an actual news story. Don't you find it interesting? And they're like, yeah, that's why we're willing to write about it if you pay us. And that's an issue that I think we need to deal with it, because a lot of these bloggers that became bigger platforms don't understand that they do also have a fiduciary right to cover news. So yes, there is an issue with a lot of, I would say, news and events being steered towards specific stakeholders, but there's also a problem with these decentralized little entities coming up and saying, oh, we don't have any actual ethical boundaries or whatever. We're our own blogger, we're our own influencer, and then we're kind of just a hired gun. Give us tokens, give us whatever. So we need to find a balance between both, but I agree with Mitchell that there's also a very strong point where a lot of the events and media is part of larger narratives that maybe the readers aren't part of. But that's something we got from Web 2, I guess. We brought that over as well.
I also think that in addition, like what everyone already has been said, I also think that this is a new era for content creators, and the value which journalists can bring to the industry is very important and unique. And we have, at Cointelegraph, we started to make NFTs from each article. So each article could be an NFT. So we also want to see the value in ourselves and develop our journalist and our editorial space as much as possible and as much as we can, because content matters, not just marketing and promo. The banner on the website will not bring you reputation. The banner on the website and advertisement will not bring your clients. People are coming for people, and I do believe in this.
I think the main thing that really stuck out to me through all this, blockchain in general is about linkage. Everything's connected now, and that's what we're building is a system, of transparency where people can go from point A to point B. So the monetization models really expand just by the creativity of the user. Everything can be monetized. Advertising, the RNG behind the click, some of those get tied into specific offers that lead to a chain offer through a collaborative partner, or like what we've been talking about with harvesting data or privacy of data, allowing incentives for customers to sell that data or opt into things that are on-chain offers or pieces like that. We've been tying monetization into everything because it really is just about linking these communities in a way and monetizing them in a way that's never been done before. And it's less about, trying to articulate the old system, because this new system, while what we're talking about up here with fiduciary duty and there are bad actors, I think that the idea of this decentralized system where we, the people, all of us, we are the NFTs, we are the non-fungible tokens, we are the decentralized systems that are on-chain, and the cream should rise to the crop from this. And it's what we've been seeing from the crash. I mean, a lot of these companies, we were here at the start with all of you guys, and remember now we're all here pointing at each other like, hey, you made it through the kind of the shitstorm, but it's real because that's what happens when bad actors kind of took the space over. And the rest of us that were building what the utility of this is, we're here, and this is really what Web3 is, or Web3 V2, I guess, as we go into the next iteration.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned sponsored content and paid for advertising. I think there needs to be a lot more, where people come out and say that they are being paid to promote something or to put something in something, because we don't have enough of that.
The question is, do you do any coverage that isn't paid? And that's a very important part of it. It's not, are you being paid? Is there any function of a platform that is organic? Of course, then differentiate between between organic and not organic. But I can tell you that there are personal blogs of people that opened a website. And again, they were early on, they got good traffic, but till today they said, look, I know you think it's a news site. This is my business, and that's how it works. So I agree with you, but there's a lot of red lines that in the crypto industry just don't exist.
Yeah. Very true.
Celebrities are not doing stuff for free, right?
Oh,
no
absolutely.
one's doing any of this stuff for free.
I mean, a great example of this is DJ Khaled and Floyd Mayweather in 2017 suffered an enforcement action from the SEC because they were shilling tokens without disclosing that they're getting paid for them.
Yeah.
So there are some potential consequences for not disclosing what kind of financial incentives you have to promote something.
Well, I mean, how many influencers were promoting FTX, and how many celebrities have promoted rug pulls? So hopefully something is done about that. Here's a question that I was very interested in. The content that you put out, the news that you put out, how do you go about, I guess, checking the reliability of it? Because there's so much news and content, and also, you have podcasts, you have Twitter accounts, you have all these people pushing out news constantly. So
that's a great question. I can tell that we got bitten ass a week ago. I'm not going to go into names, but a very big blockchain project announced a very big partnership with a Web2 company. All looked super legit, went real. We got them really nice coverage on traditional, like actual press. And then Web2 company said, oh, if this doesn't go out in the next 2 hours, we're suing you guys because you took a very vague agreement we did that you can integrate something into something that looks like an endorsement. So that's something that we need to do, I guess, also a better job as practitioners. But also just personal rules. Like, we don't work with anonymous projects. That's like a rule. We don't touch that. I said, if you can't put your name on the project, there's no way that we can put our name on a project. And 9 out of 10, I always get the same answer from anonymous dev. Satoshi was also anonymous. And then I say, yeah, I'm sorry, but you don't seem to be Satoshi to me. But yeah, that's like, there's a lot of different things, but our main rule is we do not touch anonymous projects.
Well, also can agree with this. We do not touch anonymous projects, and we also have pretty hard scam check in our company, because we care about our reputation, and we understand that there are dirty money issues, and nobody wants to take, even if this is $1 million, I don't want to take it just because it's a bunch of money which will help company to proceed, because the name is much bigger than all of this, and yeah, it matters. Yeah.
Well, it can be hard to identify what is dirty money. For an example, I knew a lot of websites that advertise Celsius and BlockFi as safe places to store your crypto, and it wasn't that long ago that both of those companies declared bankruptcy, and in the case of Celsius, there's a pretty high degree of certainty that some sort of fraud or some sort of misrepresentation of what they were doing happened. So even in that case, as a media company, there's a pretty hard time to untangle who are the good actors and who are the bad actors, because it doesn't really shake out until something bad happens. So you could have received advertising money from someone that you thought was a good actor, and later on it turns out, oh, you've been lied to.
No, that's true, but there is like some obvious scam, like very, very obvious scam that nobody will touch this even like for the enormous amount. And of course, it's hard to predict how the market will change with the time, and like everything what happened with FTX, for example, was unpredictable right now, and now we are investigating this process and we see a lot of consequences and a lot of parallel lines. And of course, we are still like at the same space altogether. We are trying to figure it out, but I was talking about more like usual cases that company can come and just trying to buy.
You can still drive by the FTX arena. They didn't take the sign down yet. They're going to do it pretty soon. And look, I tend to agree with you. I think that FTX is a great lesson, but I don't think crypto needs to just take it on themselves. You see Wall Street Journal, even New York Times in the past week have also articles like, with Sam's demise goes his dream to save the world or whatever. So like, yeah, no, that was like an article that published in the past 3 days in the Wall Street Journal. So they bought legitimacy and attention on a very high level. And like if the Sequoias and Tom Brady's of the world, whatever, I don't think I can blame crypto site A or B for accepting that ad, to be honest.
No, and I think it really just comes down to us. You know, as this industry keeps going, we have to demand more and expect more with the projects that we're taking on. We were a startup like everyone else in this space. We've driven our car into the brick wall like everyone that's here. You know, even with the Celsius stuff, like I know Alex well, and I'm not going to throw those words around because I don't really understand the complexity of the situation, because we've all been there. I mean, we've taken on projects too that were just complete bullshit because clients were lying to us. I mean, that's just part of the space, and all of this stuff that happened last year in a brand new space that's developing in real time. But now we're here, right? We've seen that train wreck, and this is what's coming out of it. And this is this utility-based system that is changing and revolutionizing the way that the world is functioning at a fundamental level. And that's the important stuff. And as we keep demanding more integrity out of the people and partners that we're working with, the space is going to find its formative powers.
Yeah, absolutely. So what would you like to see for the future of media in Web3? Or what do you think the future of media will be like in Web3?
So I think that Mitchell talked about like Web3 models inside of media, which is going to be very interesting. I think that those are still very,
they're nascent.
Yeah, very, very nascent. And again, how do you do that without just seeming like a publication is trying to pump their own token or whatever? So that's one thing. I do think that, I don't remember who said this. I don't know if it was CZ or Brian Armstrong or whatever. And I think that they said something very smart, that we're trying to onboard the first billion people way too fast. Way too fast. And I think that is something that we all as an industry need to learn and pace ourselves a bit and take a bit more of the steps or whatever. And I know if we want to change the world, it might take more than 2-3 years to do that. And I think that sometimes it's very hard inside a bull run to stop and say, you know what, but I think that all the actors could go, we both can go and say, oh, wow, 3 months ago, 4 or 5 months ago, the amount of NFT drops that we could have stood and said, hey, do we need all these profile pictures of virtual dogs? But none of us did at that point. So I agree that maybe we as an industry and we as the stakeholders need to, in the next bull run, go and say, all right, we know that the audience is going there, but we should maybe like say, no, we don't think that profile picture art is what should be, or maybe it is, I don't know. But so I think that we're all trying really fast, really strong, and really very, like, I would say innovation-wise, but I think that sometimes we maybe need to, I know it's not cool, but we need to slow it down a bit and like check and verify and maybe be a bit more skeptical.
I think we can discuss and dream about the future of Web3 media as long as it's possible, because nobody actually knows what's going to happen. But I think that media exists for the community, and in terms of community building and how to understand your audience better and how to connect them all together and how to make collaboration with content creators more successful at all the points, it's very important. It's very obvious and it's very important because this is a basic media thing everything is very changeable right now. Everything is about technologies. Technologies are changeable, but if you do not have community, strong, supportive community behind your back, you cannot actually move forward. So I think we have to concentrate right now on those 2 points and understand what our audience wants, because they are trying to explore the space. So many traditional businesses come into the space, and we have to educate them not to be this, like everyone wants to protect themselves from second Luna or FTX or whatever it could be. But the main thing is that we all are observers, and our main goal as a media to make all these facts very transparent, to bring transparency to the stage, not to hide the facts, and be honest and straightforward.
Yeah, I have some mixed opinions, but I'm going to answer something about the monetization models and Web3 first. So there's actually been a few cases where we've seen these experiments play out. So Bankless, for example, they released a token and they airdropped it to all of their readers. And then the first vote that they did was to grant themselves, using these token holders, like, we want Bankless to get 30% of the tokens that have been given out for free to avoid potential securities regulations. And you also have seen this with Decrypt, where they're trying to launch a token that's more of like a loyalty point that is integrated into their mobile app. And we've also seen experiments like
CoinDesk tried to do Desk.
Yeah, Desk did that as well for their conference. So again, like a loyalty point. And then you've also seen totally Web3 projects. So Civic, which was out of Consensus, they tried to make a model where they would compensate newsrooms in this token, and they would have a DAO, and there would be a governance model and all this other stuff, and it kind of just collapsed in on itself because there's a lot of different complications with governance, similar to how there's complications with getting things done in nonprofits. So I think all of this, the point that I'm trying to make and what this boils down to is, when it comes to Web3 monetization models, there's a lot of potential there, but there's also a very high risk that some sort of financial alchemy is going on, where people don't really understand where's the value coming from, or who is supposed to be generating the money or getting the money so that people can be compensated for this thing. Yeah, the APY is high, but where's the APY coming from? So this is one of the things that people need to understand, is that if there's going to be a Web3 version of media, one is that it's going to be very difficult for it to be decentralized, because without gatekeepers to say this news is factual or this news is reliable and this news is not, it's going to be difficult. Because look at fake news, for example. Fake news means that the crowd or a large group of people believes this information is correct. And despite that, it's still factually inaccurate based on some check or something else. And you see this with memes all the time. You can have like false information or misinformation spread very quickly, even if the contents of it are incorrect. So when it comes to building these Web3 models for media, there's a lot of problems that need to be sorted out in terms of how those incentives are structured and how to actually address the underlying problem. Because a common thing that you'll see people do at conferences like this is say, oh, blockchain means more transparency, it'll fix this problem. Or cryptocurrency means that the incentives are aligned. And that's not true. Like, both those things are just tools that have the potential to do that. But oftentimes it doesn't fix the underlying issue. So when it comes to like a blockchain, one thing that I've heard very frequently is like, blockchain can make supply chains more transparent. In my opinion, that is false, because the reason why supply chains aren't transparent isn't that the information is unreliable. It's that at the point of putting that information into the blockchain,
the human
it can
element.
be bad information. So garbage in, garbage out. It's the same thing with media. If it's garbage in, you're not going to get any better outcomes.
We didn't mention Twitter yet. Elon Musk buying Twitter could be a very big move. That might be the future of Web3 communication and media. It seems like he's very bullish and he's looking at new models. So it could be that.
He will not fire everyone again.
Well, by the way, I don't know if you know that, like, this whole movie that's been going around with Elon Musk of how he's firing everyone with the Trump, whatever, that's a deep fake. That's not real. That didn't happen.
Wait, are you saying memes aren't real news?
No, but like, there's deep fake movies now. And that's some of the biggest traditional media, not The Onion, have been sharing a deep fake movie of Elon Musk saying, I built a Trump-like whatever email to fire people. That's fake. That's 100% fake. And that went up on the biggest news sites in the world. So,
Jared?
Yeah. I kind of have a different take, and I'm one of those that believe blockchain will fix a lot of the supply chain things. Obviously, there's bad actors. They are just tools, and the root of all misallocation of tools are clearly the people wielding those tools. That's just part of being human. Some of us are shitheads. But as far as like social networks and all these kind of things that we're talking about, like I don't even, as a company, we've really pushed back on even using Web3 or NFT or blockchain technology or any of this vernacular, because it really is just an impediment to getting people into this. We're not doing anything differently. We're just embellishing and doing things in a more robust fashion than we've done before. We're already in the metaverse. We all live on Zoom and Twitter and Facebook and Google and search engines and the internet and email. None of us talk to each other. We don't. This doesn't happen, right? We all sit on Zoom 24 hours a day. I know I do. It's a soul-sucking experience, but we've all been there. And all that we're doing right now is just amalgamating all of these systems and all these things that we've been doing for years and years and years, because what do we do at the core is we connect. We're community. We're people. That's what Web3 is. That's what all of this is, right? I mean, we got thrust into this crazy acceleration after being, shoved into rabbit holes in a pandemic, right? And that's what fast forwarded this entire thing that we're in right now. And now we have the technology to go and link all of these tools that we've been using in individual applications and third-party pieces where we're piecemealing together this one thing that we're doing, which is just a desire to connect with everyone else in the world and show all of the things that we're doing. We can monetize all of the expressions of our creative self, or your IP, or your supply chains, or your factories, or any of these things. It's the same thing we're doing now.
Awesome. So that concludes the media panel, and everybody give our panelists a round of applause.